Hello, my lovely friend. Welcome back to my little crafty corner. In our last video, we explored dopamine, that wonderful brain chemistry that motivates us and gives us those little sparks of joy when we create. And honestly, your interest and response to that video warmed my heart so much that I decided to keep going and make a little mini-series about 4 of these feel-good brain chemicals: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, and how they affect our well-being as crafters. So today we are diving into oxytocin, the so-called love hormone, and explore how junk journaling can help us boost it in gentle, creative ways. And there's a little therapeutic twist I'd love to add. In my work with internal family system therapy, we often talk about building bonds, not just with others, but also within ourselves. When our deepest self turns towards our inner parts with warmth and curiosity, it creates a connection, almost like an inner hug. And that too can stir oxytocin. So, if you've got your scissors, inks, or even just a pen and paper nearby, you might like to craft along with me. Let's see what oxytocin can look like when we decorate some masterboard pieces. Before we dive deeper into the science, let me show you what I've got in front of me. Do you remember that big dopamine masterboard we made together and started decorating? Well, I just couldn't resist. I've been playing off camera a bit more. I punched another eyelet here in this tiny tag. And I rounded a few corners here on these journaling cards. I also used my Distress Oxide ink to color the white bags because, well, I just couldn't wait. Maybe you know that feeling too, when you just have to keep going because you feel so inspired. So today, let's be creative together while we talk about oxytocin. You may wonder, what is oxytocin and why am I linking it to crafting? Let me explain a little bit. Oxytocin is often called the bonding or love hormone. It's what we feel when we hug someone we deeply care about, when we share a meaningful conversation, or even when we give a gift we've made with love for someone. Now, research hasn't studied crafting and oxytocin as much as dopamine, but we do know that activities that make us feel connected, safe, and nurtured can gently raise our oxytocin levels. And that's where junk journaling comes in, because it's not just about glue and paper. It's about creative self-expression, mindful practice, emotional connection, acts of kindness, community, and even the simple comfort of touch. These are all ways oxytocin can show up in our journaling practice. And from an internal family system perspective, oxytocin can also arise when we practice bonding with our inner family, when self reaches out to a part with warmth, curiosity, and compassion. That inner gesture of connecting, like saying, "I see you, I'm with you," is just as powerful as an outer hug. So when we create freely, choosing colors, arranging papers, oxytocin can flow simply because from the act of expressing ourselves. In my therapy work, I sometimes invite clients to draw nothing complicated, just shapes, patterns, or even playful marks. The goal isn't to make something good, but to let something inside find its way out onto the page. And often that act of expression brings a relief and warmth. IFS teaches us that every time we give a part of us space to express itself, even through a tiny scrap of paper or a chosen color, we strengthen the bond between self and that part. That bond is deeply nourishing, and oxytocin may well be part of the chemistry of that inner connection. So as you play with your scraps now, notice if a certain color or texture is calling you. Trust that instinct. This is your page, your story, your gentle way of connecting with yourself. And maybe with a part inside that wants to be heard. Mindfulness is another pathway to oxytocin. When we slow down and let ourselves really notice what we are doing, the body relaxes. I thought it would be fun today to decorate our tags with some simple hand-drawn flower doodles, like this one here. It is playful, imperfect, and joyful to make. That's the beauty of oxytocin. It thrives in imperfection and presence. This flower is just made of drawing the number 8 several times. If you like to doodle along, just let your pen dance across the page. Don't overthink it. Just draw an 8 for the first 2 petals. Then turn the page, draw another 8 to finish the little flower. Then a line for the stem, just a little swirl here, and another 8 for the leaves. Notice how your hand moves, how the pen feels on the paper. That mindful attention, just slowing down and noticing, is enough to invite those gentle oxytocin ripples. And if you think of it through the IFS lens, perhaps each little doodle could belong to a different part of you. Maybe a shy part draws smaller, simpler petals, and maybe a more playful part create big swirls. As self, you can notice each contribution with warmth. That's inner bonding in action. So, let's cut out these little bits and pieces. You'll notice I'm taking my time here, slowly cutting around these little doodles. Fussy cutting isn't about perfect precision. It's about patience. A gentle curve of the scissors, a pause, and then another little cut. I often think of it like the way we listen to our inner parts. Some edges are sharp, others softer, and sometimes we have to circle back around before the shape begins to emerge. In internal family system, each part of us carries its own outline, its own story. And when we bring selves calm, curious present, we don't have to rush to make them neat or polished. Just a little attention, a little patience, and the shape reveals itself. And there's something beautiful about this process. As we cut away the extra paper, we are left with something we can hold, appreciate, and use. That's not so different from how we work with parts, gently releasing what's no longer needed, and discovering the beauty that was already there. Maybe you will notice too that this simple, repetitive act brings a sense of calm. Your breathing might slow down, your shoulders might soften. That's oxytocin at work again. The quiet reward for giving something your mindful, caring attention. So, whether your flower or your little doodle edges are smooth or jagged, let them remind you, every part has its place, and every cut is a step towards becoming more of yourself. As I'm trying out these flowers and doodles on the tags, I notice how much my inner parts are involved in this process. Each little piece could fit in different places, but there's usually one spot where it just feels right. Playing with arrangements gives us the chance to pause, to listen, and to notice where something truly settles. It's less about finding the best one, more about recognizing the moment when it feels aligned. And sometimes a simple word that we add can catch memories we hold dear or create an instant emotional connection to the people we love and care for. That's why I created a little printable for you with word labels that fit to today's topic of oxytocin. Things like trust, nurture, love, and connection, and so you can download it for free, cut a few words and add them to your crafting projects. I printed one on coffee dyed paper. Here you can see it looks really nice with all the wrinkles, and it gives it a little bit of a vintage look, and I will cut out a few of them just to see that we have something to play with. I think I'm using today the word together, friendship, and gratitude because today they are closest to my heart when I think of oxytocin. Maybe you will choose one that speaks to you. Choosing a word can also be a dialogue with your inner family. Perhaps a protective part chooses the word safe, or a younger part resonates with love. Adding these words is not just decorating, it's acknowledging. And when self witnesses and honors those needs, oxytocin naturally flows. And as I mount these little words onto black cardstock, I am reminded of how sometimes clarity comes when we give something a base to stand on. A word on its own can feel fleeting, almost lost on the page or in our tags, but framed, it stands out. Our inner experiences are much the same. When we take the time to give a feeling or a memory a place to rest, it becomes easier to see it clearly. I notice how the black background brings contrast. It doesn't hide the word, it actually helps it shine, and that makes me think of the way our darker moments in life can hold the same potential. They don't erase joy or love. Instead, they can become the base that make those tender experiences be held with the respect they deserve. So, as I cut the words out and glue them on the tags, I'm holding the idea that labeling and framing isn't about outing them. It's about honoring the connections, the needs, and the stories that matter to us. Each tag becomes a kind of witness this way, gentle reminders that what we value deserves to be seen, clearly and lovingly. There's something very tender about this part, finishing a tag and knowing it may not just live in my journal, but that it could become a gift for someone I deeply care about, for example. Even the tiniest embellishment set aside for someone else carries a kind of quiet power. We often underestimate how much small, thoughtful acts affect both the giver and the receiver. From a therapeutic perspective, there's actually a physical change happening in the body when we give. Neuroscience tells us that when we offer kindness, even something as simple as a handmade tag or a doodle, the hormone oxytocin rises, not only in the person receiving, but also in the one giving. It's a bonding hormone, a gentle reminder that we are wired for connection. I've seen this many times in group therapy. Someone shyly passes a scrap of paper they've been scribbling on, and the person receiving lights up in response. It's rarely about the object itself, it's about the recognition, the moment of I see you and you matter. That small gesture builds safety and trust, not just in the group, but within each individual. So, as you are working on your tags, you might want to hold one aside. And of course, gifting doesn't always need another person. In IFS therapy, we talk about how different parts of ourselves carry longings or burdens. You might notice a part of you that has always wanted to feel comfort or belonging, or to be told it is loved. What would it be like to create a tag with that word? Belonging or comfort or friendship, and gift it to that inner part. It may sound symbolic, but symbols are often the language our deeper psyche understands best. And then let's not forget the physical side of oxytocin, touch itself. Whether a hug or the simple act of smoothing your papers can help release oxytocin. Notice how your fingers feel as you feel the different textures on your tag, the smoothness of the ribbon or fabric you used. That sensory awareness is soothing, grounding, and very much part of why this practice feels so good. So let's add a bit more of that. Let's add a bit more of cheesecloth to the second tag. And then, before I forget, finally, there's the joy of crafting together. Many of you watch while crafting along, others join swaps or online meetups. That sense of encouragement, of being part of something bigger, reminds us we belong. Oxytocin loves belonging. It's why we leave group sessions or crafting circles feeling uplifted. It's not just the glue and paper, it's the community. And that's why I'm so grateful for each and every one of you with your kind comments and your respectful way to interact with each other. This makes this community so beautiful. So my lovely friends, today we have seen how junk journaling can become more than crafting. It can be a way to gently invite oxytocin into our lives through self-expression, mindfulness, emotional connection, gifting, touch and community, and even bonding with our inner family of parts. We are creating not only art but well-being. Thank you so much for joining me in the second video of this little mini-series. Your feedback on the dopamine video inspired me to keep going, and I can't wait to share the next 2 on serotonin and endorphins with you. Until then, may your journal pages bring you warmth, connection, and a little extra oxytocin. Bye, my friend.